get nuts! Come on, let's get nuts.
No, do you know what? In fairness, it wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't get a weird or a dark energy or anything that night.
you
Anyway,
did. Yeah, it was
No,
great.
and it's very different because, of course, when you're in an area like that where you're going home, you have like the security blanket of lights are on towards the end. It's a lot more comfortable.
Mm.
If you were walking
Yeah.
up and down, we'll say castle stairs with no lights on, torches on, you can feel the cold of the building around you. It sets a different atmosphere.
yes.
So I think that's the difference. When you're doing something like what we just did in Tarbert, you have what 9, 10, 11, 12, you have about 5 hours. You know, at the end of 5 hours, you're sitting in your car, you're going home to a comfy bed. When you're
Yeah.
doing it in a castle, you're going until 3 or 4 in the morning. So you have a lot more time in the dark up and down the stairs. A lot more of exercise. For someone like me, I could do it.
There's no fear you, PJ. No
But
fear you.
atmospheric wise, like absolutely you can compare the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking to, I was telling you that, we were guesting on an American fella's show. He's actually living in Memphis. But we told him about our investigation that we went on with you. And we were saying that, talking about Leap Castle. And they said, oh, we heard of it. Sure, it was with ghost hunters were there. I didn't realise they were there at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like Lep is world renowned. But you see, Lep is known, it's been on American TV shows, it's been on English, it's been on everything. But it's also featured in, I think it's the French history books. So Lep has
Right.
actually been featured in schools for the castle and its history as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite famous in its own right.
Well known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, don't forget as well, you've got Lip Castle, but Sean is a musician that travels the world. So he's known himself. Kira, his daughter, is a dancer with River Dance. Anne is very heavily involved in the Irish dancing community, not only in Ireland but abroad. So you have the castle for the history of what it is. You have the exposure it gets because it is claimed to be Ireland's most haunted. Like that's where it's got from, you know. But like I love Lep. It's just a different location for investigation. Every place has its own, we'll say, aura to it. When you go through the gates of Lep and you're coming down the driveway, and just you turn that corner, and I've tried to capture this in a video. When you see that building facing you, you just get it straight away. It's not your castle that's just standing there in a grey stone. You can tell because each side, the left and right, is in disrepair. Then you have the
Right.
center, and like there's always the crows are always flying out of the top of it. So when you see that, it changes, it sets you up. But like, in a way, it could nearly get you too much into thinking this is just going to be wow. It is going to be something's going to happen all night long, and like as you know, you can't predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, like almost like it has its own personality.
Correct. So like when you turn that corner and you see left in front of you, even for me, and I'm going back there with years, you still get that buzz when you turn that corner and see it right in front of you. Like it's say when you drive home from work every evening and you just drive home, you don't take any notice.
Yeah.
With that castle, you still get it. Every time you turn the corner, you still get it.
It's mad, isn't it? And how many investigations have you done there roughly? Probably lost count, have you?
I won't lie, I have. I'll be very honest with you. And like, don't forget, as I said to you, people call me fishbowl because I do one round. That's it. I've forgotten about it. Do you know what I mean?
And you're still getting that feeling all them investigations later. That same feeling.
Always. Even like sometimes there will say the base room will say Ben and Tarbert was in the coffee shop area. The base room in Lep is by the fire, so there's no big fluorescent lights. It's dim lighting. A big stove is working. The fire is on. It's very atmospheric. And next thing, all of a sudden, it's like, oh crap, I'm up to the top, or I've left something in the bloody chapel, and you have to make that walk all the way up around the spiral stairs, and you're passing doors, going, okay. You know, it still gives you that feeling. You know what I mean? And like as I say, like it's like any location, it can vary on the night. Do you know what I mean? But it still gives you that feeling, even years on.
And what were some of the stories behind Lep Castle?
Well, I suppose the most famous one, of course, is, and as I say, my memory is brutal, so I always have to rejig myself before I go back there again, especially if I'm guessing I
Yeah.
can't do the tour. Because Sean will have to put me in the hop and say, I'll let you do the tour. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for now, Sean. I have my history in my head, or I have my notes. I was one of those kids in school studying on the bus because I could barely remember. But up in the bloody chapel, so you had two brothers, and respect was a huge thing in, you know, chieftain clans long ago. My apologies, my dog is making nice, be quiet. But the thing
No
about it
grand,
was
can't even hear him.
the two priests, or one was a priest. There were two brothers. He started mass in the chapel before the other brother arrived. And then what happened was the brother found that disrespectful, and he actually slashed his throat side
Jesus
ear to
Christ.
ear. So when he bled in the chapel, all the blood went all over the chapel. Hence, to this day, it's got the name the Bloody Chapel. So that's where it actually came from, was the fact that you now had the chieftain taking the priest out, slash his throat, and that was considered a huge disrespect of started the mass before he got there. So
Wow.
like that's one. A big thing with the castle that everybody kind of looks and jumps for is the elemental, because the elemental, there was an owner there, Mildred Darby, and her family owned Leap Castle for a while, and she was very much of dark arts. So she was the one that brought in the elemental, and to this day, people believe the elemental was there. So the elemental can take different forms. You're talking very much on the dark side. Everything she did was more or less on the dark side of it. And with the elemental, like obviously you've got things that play, like we've spoken of this before. Do you know, have you ever heard about mimics? Have you
Hmm.
ever done anything to, so like there's been occasions where we kind of go, that's your voice. And you know you didn't say it and it wasn't you.
Yeah.
So you can get mimics. But I suppose the biggest one is there's one section of the castle on the stairs where geographically they claim when it was in a different, we'll say, you know, in as time evolves, rooms change a little bit. But they claim
Hmm.
that's the area that was most active. And I was in there with two other people. We were doing an EVP session because it's quite a small area today. And the night had been quite active. We had set up, we'll say we were a distance from the corridor. We'd set up items for like that, like you see, we use items for touch, beams, laser. And we were getting reactions. We were doing an EVP session. We were saying, Mildred, is that you? We got an EVP back of Get Out. It was a female voice. We got a growl. And all of a sudden, you just get the smell of rotting flesh. Now, I've only had it there, I think it was it twice, but the smell is so bad and the stench. Like, you wouldn't even question, has somebody farted here, lads? Do you know what I mean? It's
Jesus.
that bad. It is just rotting flesh. And that's one of the big signs that you are beginning to get involved with the elemental.
Mm.
So, like, you have that. Then there was a lady, she got pregnant. She was murdered there for the fact that she was pregnant. So she's the lady in red, and she would be on the second floor, and she's often seen in the balcony, going across the balcony. So when we do the second floor, we would have a camera in the room catching the end of the balcony. We would have another camera on the balcony facing down into the room, and there was a big long table in the center where we would focus in there. But yeah, so the lady in red is someone that's, some people claim she's still looking for what should have been her baby. She's very angry. She's a very angry woman. So they're kind of your three main characters that are at play there. Now, children have been noted in the castle as well. And it's interesting where we find sometimes that is in the lower half of the room, below the balcony where the lady in red is. So you have a big long table. It's like pews at either side. You know, we'll say like a church pew at either side, and you're sitting on it. And a very common occurrence is people feeling a tap on the back of their shoulder or a tap on their back. And it's like a playful energy running around the table.
Mm.
And like that's something that's always noted there. But with LEP, like I know we've captured things like Get Out, but you've had Get Out, you've had things like the Elemental. We were doing a spirit box there, and we had a guest who was called Katie. She'd never been in LEP Castle before. And it's interesting. That night, whatever it was about her, she, whatever ghost, spirit, man, woman, child we were interacting with, was very much on Katie, because it actually called her name twice in two EVPs. And then we were doing the spirit box, clear as dates. Katie, and she had asked, who am I? Can you say my name? And it comes back, Katie, exactly again.
Jeez.
So whatever it was with her that night, whatever was there was reacting with her. And like I was saying to you, like myself and Maria were doing it up in the bloody chapel. We were on our own, and Maria was standing against the wall. I laid in the centre of the floor, and I placed an army medal on my stomach. And of course, bear in mind, Lep Castle has been in so many fights, so much clans. There's been so much history that it's been burnt and so forth. So I lay there, and I was like, okay, if you're there, come out, because there's an obelisk there. And sure enough, it's gravel stones. So I'm laying in the centre of the floor. Maria's behind me with a camera. She's not moving. I'm laying down. You can hear the footsteps coming out of the obelisk area, walking across towards me. You can hear it coming closer and closer. And Maria was like, stay there. Don't move.
That's nuts.
And I was like, look, can you knock this off my stomach? And sure enough, the medal went flying off my stomach. But the obelisk is something that, of course, again, has drawn so much energy. And everything is about energy. When I stay there. So with the obelisk, it was we'll say if you went in the door, you're facing the altar. On the right-hand side, there's a pure stone drop where the obelisk is. So what it was you just have spikes going at different angles. When you were thrown down the obelisk, you never came back. So whether you died on the spot or whether you bled out and died within days, that was your fate. Once you went in, you were not coming out. And there was a one stage when they were doing Lep Castle, they actually took cartloads of bones out of the obelisk.
Oh,
Jesus, lads.
And now in today, like they've packed up with straw and things for safety, because obviously everybody, of course, goes for the obelisk. There has been, like you mentioned, ghost hunters. It was a TAPS ghost hunters. They actually went down into the obelisk. But there's times you get the feeling, do you know when you get the feeling like there's somebody watching you from a corner? You know there's someone over there in the corner.
It's like the Sixth Sense, isn't it?
Yeah, you just kind of know. And even on that night that we did it, where I was laying on the ground, we had the feeling that there was someone there. We were like, come out of the obelisk. And I say, that's what I do. I always I invite them in. I always say, use my energy. I invite them. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I can run too as a fat man if something goes wrong. But if I don't, the way I feel about it is, if I'm not crossing that line of inviting them in and getting them to come forward, because I don't know who I'm dealing with, so I'm thinking of this like a stranger. I have to make them want to interact, because what I'm trying to do is get answers. And this is the most frustrating part. You could so many times say, is there someone here? You could so many times go, what's your name? And
get nothing.
You never know what or who is on an investigation or what you're dealing with. And that's the hardest part, because sometimes you could feel it's repetitive. It's only then when you start getting the answers, you can try to interact a little bit more of, did you die here? Or you might ask, can you say your age? You might repeat back numbers. Was this the year? You're trying everything for a reaction. And like that, we used a piece of the history. We were asking if it was one of the brothers in the bloody chapel, and we got direct EVP response to that situation. But we didn't get that again. The next time you get something different. So this is the hard part. And you see, again, it's all guesswork, because you're residual, which is to the place. Intelligent, because if they're going to be answering you back or knowing what you're saying. Then you have, it could be somebody to you. So this is the thing. You never know what you're working with. And that's the hard part, because you're starting from scratch every time. But in saying that, you would have seen us in Tarbert ask for JB. So like that, if we're in Lep, we're asking, is the lady in red here? We will, any names we would have got before, we're using those names again to try to see if that person's there, that we can continue. And this is something that I'm trying to, because a lot of people on my team are still quite new. So I'm trying to teach them that we have to build on the story. It's always a story, and we have to try to build on the story.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do. Is people say, why do you keep going back? Each time, while you might get something new, you might also get something to continue the story of one particular person.
And you're not going back to square one.
Correct. like you're starting at square one because you still don't know.
Mhm.
Like you would have seen with us the last night, we were asking about the fisherman because on the
Yeah.
previous investigation we got a lot to do with a fisherman. You would have just ask about Veronica because that name was very active on the last investigation. Then, of course, we brought up the Kevin again. And I don't know if you've seen the clip we just put out, but if you remember on the night, I was saying to you that we think we got the EVP of Kevin. So
Mhm.
that's now on our socials there as well.
I didn't see
So
that one actually.
so this is the thing. This is what you're all the time trying. You're trying to build on the story, but you're starting from scratch every time.
Mm.
Yes.
Or if something just happens, like sometimes an investigation can start before you even begin. And Tarbert has a habit of that. Lep seems to go any which way it wants. It can start quiet and build, which at 90% of the time it does. Or sometimes you might get something at the start. But to be fair, Lep is more of a build the energy, and it says the night gets on, you get more. But Tarbert, it always seems to start more earlier and finish earlier. It's like the two of you were walking out of that room, and there was
Yeah.
an EVP behind you guys. But that's great for you because at least you know there was nobody up in that area with you.
Mhm. 100%. You're all down below.
Right.
Just to give our listeners a bit of context. So PJ was kind enough to leave myself and Niall join for an investigation in Tarbert Courthouse, Jailhouse, down in County Kerry a couple of weeks ago. We even got ourselves a bit of official merch there.
My third born has been wearing it now for the last
I
2
have to wear it,
weeks.
lads.
BJ, you'll be glad to hear.
Listen, everybody has to get something. We always have to look after the newbies, the fresh meat, the new victims.
That's it. You're a gentleman. We really appreciate you let us come on with you. And yeah, we had a couple. Niall didn't really. Oh, Niall had one experience, but I had two experience. And as you said, PJ, you put it out in your socials of myself and Niall walking around the building while you were in the cafe. So we were going around taking pictures, and that's when he picked up the. It was you, PJ, that picked up the voice, wasn't it? From the
Right.
camera in what was the name of that room?
So it's the upstairs cell, and that is like that's the hot spot. Because even if you remember after that, when I went through the hot spot, it was like that's the number one hot spot.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were walking out or leaving the kitchen and cell, and there it was behind you, and you were just chatting away, doing your thing because we
That's
hadn't
all,
even
yeah.
started. And that's happened, I'd say 3 or 4 times now in that area. Like we had Veronica was setting up cameras one time, and she got a lady. There was another time there was somebody else up there. It was a lady. She felt touched. So it's interesting. That area often starts before we even start,
Mm.
which is why I always say the most important thing is press the record. Let's get these cameras rolling. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing you're
Yeah,
trying to
because you don't know what you're going to find. So,
know.
PJ, so yeah, I'm just going to kind of tell people the experiences that I had, and you might be able to help me out with the rooms that we were in because I forget which ones they were called. But remember, I had myself and the other girl, what was her name? We felt almost like pins and needles and electricity. What room was that when we walked into the room?
Was it upstairs or
It
downstairs?
was downstairs.
Downstairs. And you
It's,
felt
it's the
was
one
that
with the little cradle with the baby.
the
Mary's room.
Mary's cell? Yeah.
Mary's
So
cell
that was Mary's cell. You were with Lisa.
with Lisa. And what was the story with Mary's cell? So who's Mary?
So Mary was jailed in the jail, and the story behind her is, and I always say it's a story because, like, obviously they have elements of fact from, we'll say, jail records, but it's supposed to be the fact that she was jailed and that her child was taken off her, and her child was taken away. Some claim child was taken to Australia. Other people reckon she's still looking for the child to this day. So that's why Mary plays a prominent part in it because of the loss of her child.
Good.
So she separated out, and as anyone can imagine, what that must have felt like for somebody in a jail and now their child is taken away. And it's
Mm.
interesting because in that cell, and this is the hard part with it, like Alan and Pamela did it, and they were doing it on their own, and I put them in there solely because I was thinking they're a couple, they're parents, they might be able to relate to Mary on that level. And I also heard all I could hear was Alan Moore, and you could hear Pamela scream, and I was like, PJ, we're out of here, we're out of here.
Jesus.
And they swear that there was a baby crying in the cell. And
Fuck,
that's
that's nuts.
and as you know, we don't bring any under 18. We certainly don't
Mhm.
bring babies, do you know what I mean? But they've never forgotten that night in that cell. So Mary's cell is very much focused on her and the baby. And it is interesting. A lot of people feel different emotions in there, which would be expected, because if you've got someone's energy there who went through a lot of emotions of anger, loss, being locked up, of course that energy is going to be residual there. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
That is going to transfer. So like that, when you're going in there, you're sometimes actually reading and picking up, and it's when two people feel the same thing, that kind of validates more into the energy of the cell itself.
Yeah, so that was what myself and Lisa, like, so Lisa was assigned the room and we were just outside it and you were leading a session. So you're asking questions, was there anyone here? And obviously thinking we might get some answers, or else you look back in the footage and you might find something later. But Lisa said that she felt pins and needles and a bit of electricity and like a pull on her fingers, like there was a little child maybe pulling. So it was just one jolt. So then I just walked in to see if I could feel anything, and literally as I stepped across the door frame, I felt it from my head travel quickly down to my shoulders and down a little bit, maybe a quarter down my torso. And it was strange. It was like pins and needles and electricity. And I said it then, I'm after getting something. So then you said, right, John, Lisa, sit down there. So I sit down in the bed, Mary's bed. And whatever way, I had some fixation on looking into the corner of the room. And you continued on with the session and asking questions. And I noticed it. Now, I didn't say anything at the time, but it was like there was kind of little sparks of electricity in the air in the corner of the room.
And
And
you see
Lisa, before I said anything, Lisa said it. She says, I've seen sparks. There's sparks there in the corner. And then I said, I see him too.
and
So,
that's the great thing for validation, because like, let's be honest, as I always say, if anyone can say we're crazy for what we do, or we're just not well. Listen, I've heard all the jokes you could have. The great thing, as I said, is listen, I have a thick skin. And that's the great thing with what I do and what we do as a team is, because we do it and we've nothing to hide, we've no worry bringing anyone out with us for a night. And we say, right, make the night your own. We'll do the best we can. You need patience. If you don't have patience, forget about it. Stay at home. We don't even want it, right?
yeah.
But when you do get to the point of, you might question, am I seeing this? Is this actually happening in front of me? But when someone else does see it, and you've already seen it, and it does give you the comfort to say, yeah, I actually see that too. You feel more at ease at saying it, which is great, because I prefer people see it. So you've got somebody backing up each other's personal experience
Yeah.
versus not saying it, and then one person sees it and one doesn't. So it does add. And the thing is, you mentioned the door frame, so that's like the threshold, and that's where the cell begins. Mary's cell always seems, anything that happens in there seems to happen in the cell. And going through the door frame is something many a person has said. It's like crossing into another feeling. So it's interesting that the way you've said the frame is something that has been reported on time before. That's the thing. And if you think back even to what we asked for in the rooms, we would say share yourself by spirit light. So things like your flickers of light, all these things come into play as well. And you're trying to say it once, that the message is out there, of you're trying to find a way to communicate. So I always say even something like sparks of light, that takes a lot of energy for that to happen.
Yeah.
So for the two of you to have experienced it and seen it together, that's a privilege, because you're being shown there's someone in the room with you.
Yeah, it was mad.
That's my belief. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously another person would go, his way for the birds is on something, is drunk or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like Lep Castle. I had asked in the section where we'll say the elemental and Mildred Darby was, I had asked for, can you show yourself by spirit lights? When we left the area, and of course, as you know, we leave cameras still running. About 10 minutes later, a thick wooden door, right? The camera's on the inside of the door. The only bit of light, if the lights were on in the castle, you would see the gap shape of, the arch of the door.
Mm.
But what it captured inside was actually flickering, flashing lights just slowing down. So it wasn't happening all night. There was no lights on outside the door. And here's the spirit lights just flickering, slowing down inside the room with no physical person, no torches, no flashlights. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
They're small things, but again, they're all building and adding up towards the story.
Yeah, and Niall, do you remember you, me, and I think it was the two of the other girls then were above in the other room. Actually, before I move on to that one, myself and Lisa, then we shared it obviously with yourself, PJ, and then what did PJ do to us? Right, lads, the two of you stay there, we're going to fuck off. And I was like, fuck it, I should have kept my mouth shut. What's going to happen here in Mary Cell? But funny enough, nothing happened then after that. We spent 15 minutes and there was nothing. We were asking a few questions. I didn't feel, or Lisa didn't feel, that sensation of electricity or pins and needles when we were there by ourselves for them 15 minutes, which was strange. But again, that was an affirmation for me that never experienced that before, that I was experiencing something that first time because I wasn't there the second time. But Niall, what do you think of that one? Do you remember the four of us in what was that room called again up at the top?
So the one up the top, the one that's
With
on
the
top
lights
is the cell.
outside in the corridor.
The one up the
Trip
top
lights.
outside the corridor, the kitchen.
Sorry, it's the one with the basin.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. It was the lights went off in the kitchen. I think everyone was there for that, weren't they?
So that was kitchen. But actually, I've got something to pick with you now,
Did.
Niall. I so I have, right? I have a
Oh,
bone
shit.
to pick with you, right?
Oh fuck.
I'm still reviewing the footage. And again, as I always say anything you see or hear or experience. It was interesting. I was watching it back, and I'm going to say Lisa because, as I say, I've never seen it, but it was interesting. So the camera, as you remember, was placed on the bed, facing down into the cell.
Right.
If you remember, there's a. Do you know when you hit your fingernail off hard plastic, and you hear that clip, that tap, right? There's actually a click to the camera like someone has just tapped it with a fingernail. And the interesting thing is, yourself and Lisa both look up to the camera at the exact same time. Neither one of the two of you said a word. And
Fuck, I don't remember.
I said, that's interesting. You obviously both heard it. You both looked directly up at the camera, but not one of the two of you said a word.
Fuck, I don't remember that. I'd like to see that footage now again.
Yeah. It will be
I felt
there.
like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
you both did it. So you two separate minds, two separate people, two sets of ears. And you both look exactly up to the camera at the exact same time. And it was just like a fingernail off plastic. That, you know, the way the camera's the side of them was like a plastic material. It's like something just clicked off the camera. Both of you hear it, look up to the camera and say nothing.
It's interesting now. I don't remember that. Fuck.
And you see, that's what I said. So you're all the time watching for everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I was kind of over concentrating or something. I was kind of, we were all just sitting around. And do you know what the funny thing is as well? I was saying to the wife when I got home, I didn't realize how loud my stomach was because we're in this place and my stomach is going. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, shut up, like, you know. But yeah, I think I was
She's
kind
not
of.
feeding you, Niall.
No, she's feeding me well. She's feeding me well.
She's clear as well looked after.
Come here, stomachs are an everyday occurrence, and that's what happens. Like, and bear in mind, when you strip away the noise, every noise is going to be heightened.
Yeah.
So stomachs, we take. That's what I says. Come here, listen. You want to bring no fancy ideas. Go out into there's not no red carpets out there and soft furnishings. It is what it is. What it is. But the great thing about it is when someone just says, "Oh, that's my stomach." But it's a hard thing at another side then as well, because sometimes somebody could jump in and go, "That was my stomach," but it actually could have been something else. So
Yeah.
it's always a hard one. When I'm watching back and listening, I'm all time listening for the sound of the tone. So when you hear an EVP, and that's something I think that comes when people watching. If you ever listen to the tone, it's very different to my voice or your voice. How we sound in a room at the time versus if you listen to the tone of an EVP is very different. They're always, sometimes they're lower, sometimes they're stronger, but the tone will always be very different tone. But it was interesting. I was watching that and I went, here he is, here she is, there's the two of them looking up to the camera, and not one said anything, and they're in the room there themselves. And it was interesting. I also captured on the camera, and I haven't shared it yet either. It was it was after he went downstairs from doing a session up there, and we'd all gone back down into the coffee shop. And there's quite a loud, pronounced. I don't know what I don't think I'd call it a growl, but it's more than a breath. And you can always
Right.
tell how close you can judge by. I find when you're listening to audio so much, and then when you know the locations, which is why it's always good going back, you can tell it's quite close and it's upstairs in the room, but there's no physical person up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I find interesting. And the clip
Yeah.
that I shared was also where Agnes had asked for JB, and we spoke about Kevin. When she said about JB, the tripwire lit at the exact same time she was asking for JB. So that's where things marry in together.
Yeah. And we were just talking about there when in our we were on another show there a few minutes ago. We were talking about laughter.
Yes.
And it was when we started laughing about something that those lights started flickering in the kitchen. I think it was in the kitchen, wasn't it?
And don't forget,
Yeah,
from
and
the you came on
very
board,
tough.
the last time, as I said to you, laughter is a huge energy builder. It's a
Mhm.
huge energy builder. Like when there's ever laughing, something usually happens, because even if we're on an investigation and let's just say it's a bit quiet, whatever, I'd be the very first one to make a hop at someone, because I know if I can get a build of laughter, I know I'm sacrificing someone's poor mental state, but listen, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will sacrifice someone to raise the energy, because you do want to get one shot in that investigation.
Because I
Yeah.
remember inside that room, I said something along the lines of, so obviously knowing that there was guards there that would guard the cells at night. So I came into my head just saying, maybe there's no one in here. Maybe the guard is supposed to be here on duty, but maybe he's after running across the road to the pub, had a few pints, and he's trying to sneak back in. So we started having a laugh then. And that's when the tripwire started going off
Yeah.
outside in the corridor. But it
Yeah.
happened 3 different times in the space of that 15 minutes. And it was all surrounded by some kind of joke that we were having and a bit
Yeah.
of laughter. So it wasn't just coincidence.
And that's what I'm saying. When you have laughter and you have the energy, because it takes, for me and you, like with the equipment we work with, is usually something that's light to touch, light to tap, something that's not going to be wind affected, but something that would take low energy to use. So usually, as I say, when you build that energy laughter, that's when the energy is higher, they're able to interact a bit more. That's where I find, unfortunately, because you're having fizzy laughing, sometimes there's words behind it, or there's a voice, or there's something being said, but you're missing it because of the laughter.
Yeah.
But in saying that, you're also catching an item being used. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but like in saying that, you always have to debunk as well, because if you remember, we were going through the back cell where the man was on his own downstairs. So do you remember
Yeah.
downstairs, there's a cell at the back, there's a guy on his own. And at one stage we were going through, and I said, "Did you see the motion ball? It's lighting." After watching back the footage, I debunked it. I can see what it was. There was a person standing against the door. They got a fright as we were going through. And when they hit off the back of the door, hit off the table, which gave the effect of the ball
Right.
to life. So
Mm.
that's the thing. When you're in an investigation, yes, I'll look at what we capture and I'll stand over. But I'm also looking for what is natural, or what is caused, or what's accidental.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. So anything we're talking about, or anything I'll share from your investigation, is stuff I can 100% stand over.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and if you think about the tripwire, if you remember, there was one piece upstairs, and unfortunately it didn't show on the camera as well as it did in the physical moment. And I said, "Can you light a second one?" So if one was lighting, I asked, could they light a second? And then the second one lit up. So I don't know if you remember that
Yes,
section.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it one lit, and then the second one lit behind it. But unfortunately, you can't see it as it just shows as a blob of light. So people can't see it, but it actually did perform to what we were asking for.
And PJ, do you want to explain how them strip lights work actually, just to people?
Yeah, so we have two sets of tripwires we work with. One we use, which is, as you guys know, quite loud and quite noisy. It lets off. So when you tap one tripwire, when you tap it or you stand on it, the material of the light will flash, and it will also give an audio as well with it, like a ringing of bell sounds per se. Then the second tripwire is lights. So you have different colored LED lights encased in glass. There's a section of, I think there's about 7 on the line. As you tap one, the lights light up within it, and so forth. So what you're trying to capture is if someone is walking near it, they may set it off through vibration of the floor if the footstep is heavy enough. Or if they tap off it, it will light up. So that's not working off sound, it's not working off vibration of your voice. It's more about things with touch. And if you look at like the music box is working with a beam, so that's looking for something to break the beam to activate. The motion balls, you're looking for someone to touch them, so they light up. The tripwire, you're looking for them to be touched, for them to light up. The dictaphone you're trying to capture with an EVP with a voice, or the REM pods, then you're trying to get someone to just come close, to just touch it, where they'll either emit the noise and lights together. So you have different items there that you're just trying to get a reaction from.
That music box, that song is the creepiest thing. Fucking hell.
Everyone says it, yeah.
It's like from The Conjuring or something.
We were doing a live in Redwood, and it went up on the stairs in the middle of the live. And of course, everybody could see we were in the room, we weren't down on the stairs. And I remember somebody put a comment, you couldn't have got a creepier sound to the music box.
Just when we are getting that little bit comfortable in the building, and then you hear that sound going off, it's like, oh, holy fuck.
Yeah. I even got a good tip of Ginny. Ginny, when one of the tripwires went off, the one that makes the noise, she just gets such a hop, and I'm like, yeah, love to see it, because the more that happens, the more energy. And you see, I'm desperate that way. I'll sacrifice. And you want to be lads. If I think sacrificing E will either, what I really would love to capture is a good shadow. I've seen shadow, but I would love to capture a good shadow. Do you know what I mean? And I always say that's the thing. Like, I suppose the closest is, and I shared it, I'd say recently ago, Maria was actually taking pictures outside a location we did in Carlow. It was a convalescent home. It had also been used for kids. They used to make ties in there for the late show, believe it or not. And she was outside taking pictures. And I always say, always take pictures of windows and you zoom in. Now, you got to be careful of matrixing. Do you know what I mean? But sure enough, there's the imprint of a man's face looking out the window. But there's nobody inside at the time. So you always have to watch your pictures. You always have to check them. Or even, I did a pub in Cork with different people years ago. And it was myself and a female in the room. We were taking pictures. So when I take pictures, I look at everything in the room. And it was interesting. There was a photo frame in the room, quite a photo frame with the family on it. And I was like, what? I could see there was something on it. And when I zoomed in to see what was on the picture, it was the grey outline of a man's head. So it was like he was balding in front with a bit of hair, real dark grey in colour, a mustache, but no jaw. And it was just in the reflection of the glass of the picture. So I don't have a mustache. The girl beside me definitely didn't have a mustache. And I'm like, here we are taking pictures in this room that is noted to be a hotspot. And again, that's like, so like, I always kind of go, that was my two visuals, we'll say, of seeing. But we'll see shadows out the corner of your eye. But I'd love to get, obviously, I'd love to have a full blown conversation. Tell me about the afterlife.
Yeah.
We have to before we get.
And like, I seen there, and you did a recent podcast with a buddy of yours who does investigations as well. But have you ever spoken to other investigators that maybe almost had that conversation, or maybe they did?
Yeah, because like I always say, like, thankfully there's a few teams that I'm quite good friendly with, and we'd often talk about locations because we would have done similar locations. And I do love when you've got two separate teams, two separate mines, two sets of equipment, and you both capture either similar or the same in one area. That's great validation.
Mhm.
So a lot of people would be like us where they either sense, feel, see the shadows, or all these emotions, but nobody's actually got evidence of someone standing there. Yes, you'll have pictures with, we'll say, light anomalies or shadow, but no one has actually a full picture of someone that's passed standing there. And like that's what I said, like the best I have is that picture in the photo frame because you can clearly see the grey outline of the man. From a shadow point of view, there are stairs in Redwood Castle, spiral ones upstairs. And as you know, a spiral staircase, you can see through each step. And we harmonize over there, and I use an Instax camera. The reason I use an Instax is because it can't be manipulated. So if I'm sharing that,
Right.
plus they believe the older cameras were better, like your older cameras were better for capturing versus digital in today. So that's why older equipment is better than newer. But sure enough, I said, will you stand there while I take a picture or a painting of you? Because of course, you want always pictures, they were paintings. In the stairs, you can see the black shadow blocking out between the steps. And I take two pictures where it increases on the second picture. So if I'm standing looking at the stairs and I can see through the steps and so can the people in the room. And then I take two of these pictures, one after another, and I'd always count to three, once I remember. And here you've got this black shadowing blocking out the wood, the metal, and the gap. So,
Nuts.
so like that's what I say. So like I have the picture of the man missing the jaw. We have the picture of the man looking out the window. We have like that the shadowing that's blocking out in the steps. But it's all part of an experience on that night. But like even Wicklow Jail, unfortunately that's closed now as well at the minute. But there was Ginny was Emerald Isle. She was doing an investigation there. Myself and Maria done one. We both got the same name in the same area. Two different investigations. Yeah. So Maria was doing her session and she was like Billy William, and like that she got his name straight back to her. And they did it and they were doing a similar EVP session and again got his name back. So that's what I love. Or like Redwood, we've had the lady singing, they've captured the lady singing. So when a different group captures something either similar or in the same area, it does add more validation, and it is about validation.
100%.
But again, that's then when we'll go back going, is the lady that sings here? Because we've to keep trying to figure out, can we build on that story?
Yeah. Yeah. Build that story. As well, like, so I think you're going back to America, yeah?
I am indeed. We're going in May.
Right. What are you going at there again?
So when I was over there last time, I did the village of Rugby. So I based myself in Tennessee, and I did but before I got to Tennessee, I did Idaho Old State Penitentiary. Then I went up and I did Scott's County Jail. But the big one for me was the village of Rugby. It was an Englishman that set up like a colony many years ago. And he was their founder. He brought over his mom, he brought over his kids. They went and he had obviously money starting off. So like to this day, some of the original houses are still there. The library is still there because they were very much about building a community, building education, being self-sufficient off the land. They were like setting up their own mini village or city. And it's called the village of Rugby. But like I was there and it was a Skeffington house, and I was upstairs. There was a rocking chair. I had motion balls placed in the rocking chair. I had tested the ground to make sure my footsteps weren't on the boards to move the rocking chair or anything. The rocking chair actually starts rocking and the ball lights up in it. I was downstairs in the dining room where they would have hosted, we'll say, parties long ago, and I was the only male there. And as I'm talking, another male voice answers back. So if I'm the only male on this investigation and I'm there, how could there be a second male voice there? So that's what I love. I love when the cameras capture something that's unexplainable.
Yeah.
And you went to sleep that night, didn't you?
Sorry?
You slept away that night, not a
Oh,
fear
and
to
come
you.
here, I'd sleep down anywhere. I'm not, I'd sleep anywhere. I'd sleep at a rave, probably have done. But we were over in the library, and the library, there was the guy that looked after the library was actually German. And I love these American buildings because you have the crickets noising in the background. You have the dead heat because, of course, it's warm. But when you went into this library, you could smell the books. I mean, they're that old, you could smell them as you go in there. You could just feel the history. So they said there was a German guy there, so I'd have a very limited amount of German. But I said, okay, I'm going to try this. So, like that, I started talking in German, and the people that were with me, because they're another paranormal team, ATSS, and they captured a response, which they believe in German, back. Because they contacted me afterwards. They were like, your German worked. You actually got a response back in German.
Jesus, right.
And I was only just like that. You're all the time thinking, how can I interact? How can I? It's like in our investigations, you'll try using Irish language.
Can you remember what you asked or what you said to it in German?
So I was explaining to them my name. So I was like, I said PJ, born in Kerry in Ireland. So I was just telling them about myself. And they believe what they got back was hello and his name, which was the same name that's recorded in history of being the librarian in the building.
Yeah, because I meant to ask you that the last time we saw you. So when you speak to Cúpla Focal, do you get some positive feedback or positive experiences?
Yeah, some people do. Unfortunately, my knowledge of Irish is brutal. And all I remember was, can I go out? Can I will Dolamont? But yeah, no, and you know where Irish works the best actually is Lip.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask.
Where Irish has worked the best, especially up at the bloody chapel. But that wouldn't surprise me if you think back to Irish chiefs and clans. If you think back to our heritage, that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense.
On a tough side, and I'm no way anti any culture, but a common denominator in Lip and Redwood Castle here, mine's only 20 minutes away. So 20 minutes between the two. Because you have Lip, you have Killarney, you have Redwood, you have Lackeen, and you have Kinnity. They're all basically within a nest there together. But the interesting thing I've found is I've had English people on investigations with me. Some have got affected in the bloody chapel and on the ground floor in Redwood. Both areas are hot spots for paranormal activity. And yet, when those people leave that room and come out of it, absolutely fine. But they feel sick. They feel they just have to get out. I feel so sick. I need to go out of the room.
Interesting.
Yeah, because even I've done once a year, I usually bring students with a crowd from Dublin up to Redwood. And I mean, now you'd have people from all walks of the world, America, Switzerland, everywhere. Never had it. It's only it seems to be. And as I say, I love every nation. But again, taking it back to history, is that ingrained in that chapel? Because we can't ignore the history part that's there. And to be fair, everybody has taken it exactly at face value, that they know that there's no malice or intent. And we can't control paranormal, we can't control the afterlife. But it is interesting. It's something that has come up on a couple of occasions, just in those occasions in those two spots.
And to make you think as well, PJ, like especially there in Left Castle and these places, like if you're speaking English to them, they might even understand what you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
Correct. It's even like you try to cut back as much words. It's so hard. You're finding that hard part. You're trying to ask something without being asking it for so long or too much long-winded, but enough for them to understand. It's like when I'm asking for a photo, I have to explain it's also like a painting.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to relate to what they're like in their time.
Make it relative to their time period.
Yeah.
Correct. And that thing, or even like Duckett's Grove. Have you guys ever been down to Duckett's Grove?
No.
So Duckett's Grove, we were the last ones in there. We used to do the ruins, but due to the state of the place, the decay, we were the last ones in. We stayed overnight in the courtyard. We actually pitched tents in the courtyard overnight, and we were very grateful for the access. But there was a story there, of course, of two lovers. We were calling for the lady, mimicking back their story of this is what was said and so forth. So there was one patch where we used torchlight, And the torchlight started responding, coming on and going off to the question. So we had said, like, can you light it twice for yes, one for no? And sure enough, it was corresponding back to the story. And it was interesting. We were using the story from the history, but yet it was actually reacting to that. And there was things then we might try to trick it by saying something we know isn't true, just to see will the answer match.
Mm.
And I remember
Yes.
Leo walking up the courtyard. We were over near the big gates. He was walking up the courtyard, and he stopped dead in his tracks. He knew he heard something, and sure enough, we watched back the cameras. There it was.
Stop.
And even from a light, like, yeah, there it was, just like clear. It was just there, just dead in the courtyard, and he stops dead. And he heard that, and that's the thing, was you either hear it with your ear, you could miss it. I obviously, I'm deaf in one ear. That probably helps me on listening back to a recording, but I could miss something in the room. And even with that, from a light anomaly, there where we were pitched, we'll say there's an open wall. And captured on camera was like a bolt of lightning, not even lightning, a bolt of a light. It's like it just came down right in between the wall and the open space. There was no lightning on the night. It was during the summer. There was plenty of heat. Nothing like that. We can't explain it. But again, it was something making their presence known. So when we looked back at that investigation, we certainly got made known presence. Or actually, a very good one is Wicklow Jail, one of our team, Rory. So Rory is walking the landing with one of our guests. They're going past all the jail cells. And as they're going back through the jail cells, sorry, no, it's not, just cancel that. As they're going back through the jail cells, Rory hears a scream, like a pure scream out of him.
Mm.
He stops dead in his tracks. So does the guest. They both look back at the camera. They look behind them to see what is this. And sure enough, they heard it with their ears. The camera caught it. Perfect.
Have you ever seen orbs, PJ?
Yes, and you
Investigations.
have to be so careful, because, like, I would say, sometimes I say light anomalies, sometimes then you say orbs. You have to be so careful, because dust, of course, can create so many similar effects
Yeah.
to us.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were doing it in the bloody chapel, where I know it's gravel, I would discount a lot. But the thing is, when you're spend so much time as I do watching cameras, you get a feel for it, and then I'll zoom in. So, like, if I zoom in and I can see a bit of a tail, then I know it's a fly. Or I'll watch the pattern. So, like, we've caught a few nice orbs and light anomalies in Redwood, where I remember one just shot straight across the room towards the chimney, or one might just suddenly appear mid-air and go. So you're always watching that. Is it something that's come into the frame and gone out of the frame with a tail? That's a fly. But pictures
Mm-hmm.
are always good as well, because you can zoom in, and that it's from there. So, like, if I put out light anomaly on a video or something, I'm sure what I'm looking at, I believe, is a light anomaly. Whereas, as I say, there's others then I totally discount. And it was interesting. I think I was saying this to Rebecca McRedmond, the singer, the musician in Galway.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So music is a big energy builder as well. She sang Grace in the chapel in Redwood, and, like, the room just filled up with so much light anomalies, everything, and she just raised the game completely. But again, that was music, and you see, that's the thing. You're trying everything to raise the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
always say, if I was to put everything that happened or I've seen into one night, it would certainly make you think twice. But because everything happens in segments, but I always say to people too, don't forget, I could watch 40, 50 hours to maybe get 10 minutes worth. And I'm lucky to get that. And I'm privileged. I'm privileged to get that, because there is people on investigations that get zero.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing. For some reason, it seems to work. What we do seems to work. We're beginning to slowly, and as I say, it's a training pace. We're slowly beginning to now build on Pacific names in the Redwoods and in the Tarbert. So we're beginning to build on the story little. And that's the thing. And as I say, 2 nights are the same. Like, if you look at Tarbert, the last night was quieter. Time before was very active, moving the phone off the shelf and so forth. You can't call it. Or what I love even is, like, I've even had my own name called back on camera. So if Spirit Man, Ghost Woman, Child says PJ, that now means they're relating to me more.
Mm-hmm.
They know who I am.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important we keep introducing ourselves as well.
PJ, where are you on date and what happens after that?
So I suppose that's a lot of what I do. Well, the great thing about it is because, like, as I say, people have, my dad was very traditional. My mom, the more she would have seen of this, the more she bought into it. But my father was like, let the dead rest. And like, obviously I was brought up Catholic, still am. It's actually increased my faith. So now from what I do, I now know 110% there's more to life than the hole in the ground we end up in. So before I started this, I suppose that was already one of my questions of what happens when we die. Now, the numbers don't add up. If you think about how many people die, or even to me going on a ghost hunt to maybe getting 3 or 4 different vices between a male, a female, a child, the numbers don't stack up for how many people have passed, how many have been in the area to what we might capture on a paranormal investigation. But I don't know the exact science of how long does it take? Is it people that aren't at rest that are communicating? Is it residual? But the one thing for sure I now know is there is now more to the afterlife. There is more to just that unfortunate passing and the hole in the ground. And I don't say that lightly to anyone that's lost anyone in their family. I actually try to say it now with a bit of comfort because there's signs around people all the time, but we just don't see them. And the more somebody wants somebody to stand in front of them, the more they won't see them. It's, you have to just relax into it, and the corners of your eyes where you'll see the most are little things. People might do little things, and you might just count it going, that's the battery gone in that, or that's going. So sometimes there's more. Like my mother was very accepting of her death. She had no fear of her death. She outlived the time she got, and she had absolutely 110% faith, no fear of her passing whatsoever. One of the most amazing women I've seen to accept death. And she was like, you better bring those chains, because by Christ, if I make my way back to one of your investigations, I'm going to rattle them. Because I'll make you hot. And she's like, promise me now you'll bring them. So, like, she's 6 years past, and I still bring them as part of the kit. I'll usually hang them up somewhere. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. Do I want it to happen? If it does, it does. I don't focus on it. But I've done her wish, and I've brought it with me so that if she can, that's going to be her way.
Do you know, I take that as a good sign that she has passed on to, if there is something there, we should be all hoping. You know?
But it's interesting, like I say, like, because like we lost 3 in 7 weeks. Like in a matter of weeks, we buried 3 of our family in one go. And
Jeez.
I also, like, one of those was tough because I tried to save them and I couldn't that night, unfortunately. But my mother loves Christmas. And I remember even a relation of mine brought me home the first Christmas. We pulled outside the house and the curtains were, were open and so forth. And I left the house with everything turned off. I came back on, and the amount of the decorations, not on timers or anything, all turned on. And I went, okay, this could be hard because she loves Christmas. Now, a person would say that's you wanting it, whereas I kind of go, if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. It's how someone interprets it themselves. But I think you have to go level-headed. But I do say, like, we were asked by a member of the church to do a church. And that's what I laugh at, because you'll have people that say you shouldn't mess with the dead for religion. As I say, if like, so my dad's saying let the dead rest. But I'm kind of going, if they're interacting with me, they're obviously making their presence known if they're intelligent enough to do so. Because in life, if I know you, I'm not going to ignore you and walk past you. I'm going to acknowledge you're there. You be even a hello. And I think that's the thing. When you're trying to interact, if it's intelligent enough to answer your questions, it will. But you're also letting somebody know that they're seen, they're heard. They might have the full energy to talk to you, but they're making their presence known. And that's where I say privilege comes in. But I remember that one from Maria, because you asked about orbs. So she was inside the church. The window was taken out because they were moving it to a different church. I was taking pictures from the outside in. And I took the picture, and this was digital. And I was like, what's going on? Like, it was like, she was blurring or disoriented. So first initial thing I thought of is camera. It's the camera. Cleaned the lens, took it again. But it was different in every picture I took. And I was like, there's something not right here. So then I was like, right, give me a second camera. Use the second camera. And I was like, no, this is still happening. And Maria was like, don't tell me what you're seeing. I said, perfect, because it is great not to know. Because if you don't know, you're just trying to interact with it a bit more to find out. So We said to Maria, right, ask for it to go to your hand. I take the picture. Her whole hand is all blurred out.
Stop.
Ask for it to go to your legs. Her 2 feet are blurred out with the same colouring. It's like straining the colouring of whatever
Yes.
item you're on, strain it out. And it even sort of went towards her head, her hand, her feet. We've tried to recreate that.
Whoa.
Can't recreate it.
Mm.
So that's, I mean, there's so many.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and like you will get touch, you will see things. Anything can happen. Hence the reason you should have signed the waiver. If you die, lads, that's not my fault.
I know, PJ, we really appreciate you, and thanks again for having us that night below Tarbert. We really enjoyed it.
You're very welcome.
And-
And I say to everybody, anybody is welcome. If we've space, the door is always open. We just ask people to come, make your own, be respectful, join in the process. The door is always open, and they were a pleasure to have. And I'm sure you'll join us in the castle some night.
100%.
I would love to, yeah.
I know,
PJ.
I know we're talking our rabbit on, so I could talk about anything.
Some man you are. Top man, PJ. Come here, for our listeners again, where can everyone find out about Púca Vogue investigations, follow you and support you?
So I always say, like, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We post the same clips across all three. So if you're in any one of them platforms, follow it on. We do then, if we're doing a public investigation, there's spaces, that's where we'll announce it as well. Obviously, we do have people that are regulars that get the spaces, but they want to see or learn more, jump onto one of those, even send a DM, and yeah, we'll do our best.
You're doing a podcast
Savage.
as well at the minute, aren't you?
We are indeed. So that is Let's Talk Paranormal, Púca Vogue Paranormal, and mixing it up. Like, a lot of what we talk about is different people, different investigators, or investigations we've been on once we've done a full review. Because even if you look at how long is it you guys were on? Was it with us 2 weeks ago? The 3?
Yeah.
Yes,
2
2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah.
So, like I always say, I work full time. You're trying to get through the footage, and Tarbert will be in low case because, of course, the cameras finished earlier, and I'm not finished the investigation yet. But we'd often then do a podcast of what we got start to finish. But for you, the way I would
That's
look
cool.
at it is the fact you guys were upstairs and started your night just having your chit chat, walking around, and that's the thing. You were just being you, taking your pictures, plodding along. The fact then that someone makes their presence known, that says a lot about the person in the rooms that happened with. So well done.
I appreciate that, PJ. It was great crack. Looking forward to up in the ante now, and we'll go to Lep Castle and scare the shite out of John.
You never know, John. Funny, when I first stayed at Lep Castle, I was afraid to close my eyes. I was actually afraid to close my eyes that night.
Yeah.
Now I sleep sound because, like, Lep and Redwood can often play games with you when you go to sleep. You'll hear the loud bangs. You'll hear the stuff there. So yeah, until next time, lads.
I'll be sleeping in the car outside, I'd say. Thanks a million, PJ. You're a legend.
Lads, thank you.
Likewise, PJ. Thanks a million for having us, and say hello to the lads for us.
I will indeed. Tradition. It's weekends. God knows what we'll be up to again.
That's it.
Have a good one. Have a
PJ,
good one, pal.
thanks a million, man. Take care of yourself.
Good luck.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this and would like more, please subscribe and turn on notifications.